Morning. How's everybody doing? Is this working? Okay, it's working. It's working. Great. What I want to talk about today is really the way that we think about a community-centered approach for science-based conservation for Golden Dorado and the Neotropics. I really want to acknowledge international co-authors. It's a big group of people that are participating in this network of work. All right. So for those people that aren't familiar with Golden Dorado, they're in the Neotropics in South America. They're highly piscivorous. They eat mice, birds, bugs. They're gnarly. They have really big teeth. They're awesome heads. They live in super big rivers, in deltas, and in wetlands. Their native range is over 3 million square kilometers. It's huge. The Paraná River, which is one of the major rivers in the Rio del Plata Basin, in some areas the river's over 1.5 miles wide, so it gives you a sense of the context, the scale of it. And they're highly migratory. There's been some preliminary work done with radio telemetry, but there's still a lot of knowledge gaps when it comes to their life history. And because of the scale and scope of the fishery, they're also facing a lot of environmental change. There's many of these river courses are dammed, massive hydroelectric dams, and potential threats for more. We've got lots of impacts on droughts and wildfires, and also major flood events, land clearing, lots of pollution in these areas, and not necessarily harvest of Golden Dorado themselves, but harvest of their prey. So lots of potential impacts on Golden Dorado populations throughout their range. At the same time, there's a growing focus on recreational fishing for Golden Dorado. They're on the cover of popular magazines. There's a lot of influencers that are going down to fish for Golden Dorado, shows up in social media. And you can think about them as almost like a saltwater species in freshwater systems. They have, again, their attitude is crazy, and they're drawing in a lot of attention. If you saw my presentation a couple of days ago about a survey we did on recreational anglers, there is a growing interest from an international market, and then there's also a huge demand also within the Neotropics in Brazil and Argentina. There's a lot of sort of domestic focus on recreational angling. So thinking about how we've got the juxtaposition of all these threats and also this growing interest in terms of them as a recreationally targeted species. And so the next step is there are knowledge gaps still. I mentioned limited scientific information related to their movement ecology, life history, response to disturbance, incredibly complex watersheds. This is the main stem of the Paraná River in the middle Paraná. This is just like a wetland that spills over on the side during the high water season. Ribbons of places where Golden Dorado can live, and it's a complex place to kind of study. Incredibly passionate stakeholders. When you talk to somebody that's fished for Golden Dorado, they are like many other anglers. They're very passionate, but I think it takes it to the next level. It's kind of crazy. There's local and regional scientific expertise, but they also lack some of the resources and capacity, the tools to actually implement some of the science that's needed to fill some of these knowledge gaps. And so when I've been working on Golden Dorado since about 2014, 2013, and a lot of the questions that emerge related to the science come from the stakeholders. This is giving a presentation in a place called El Tunal in the northwestern part of Argentina. Some of the questions there were about catch and release, but also about threats because of a mining operation that was going in on the river. Along the Paraná River, there are communities that have statues and lots of lodges that are promoting fishing for Golden Dorado, but there's a lot of questions about how much capacity is too much. I've had interactions, again, with the community, with stakeholders about what about the connectivity? Think about the large geographical scale and scope of Golden Dorado across this 3 million square kilometers. are my Golden Dorado in one range the same Golden Dorado as another part of the distribution? So a lot of the questions are emerging from the stakeholders, and the community is rallying around these questions, and that's that community-centered approach. And so I just want to share a little bit about parts of some of the science that we've been doing and working with people in the Neotropics around the connectivity issue. Really awesome support from the International Game Fish Association. This project was funded by them, and also connected in terms of a lot of regional and local participation and organizations. But rather than thinking about, a lot of times the stakeholders come and say, we need to start a tagging program because we want to look at movement ecology. The place is 3 million square kilometers. Tagging is not the first step. And so we were working with different organizations to really use the idea of using genomics and conservation genomics to look at population structure to identify what the management units are. And so this whole project was focused on collecting fin clips throughout their native range for Golden Dorado and also sister species. And of course, this was all getting ramped up right before COVID, right? And then COVID hit, and we were like, how the hell are we going to do this? Well, we were rallying around the community to actually participate in the sampling. And in the watershed, all the stars were places where we managed to use guides and anglers to collect fin clips. There's actually more. This was the subset that we ended up using in terms of the analyses. And so this is just an image. We were packing up fin clip kits and we were shipping them to South America. This is Juan Pablo Gozio, who runs a tackle company in Argentina, but he produced a video in Spanish that then worked in conjunction with all the anglers to actually do the fin clipping, to follow the protocols. The protocol was in English and Spanish, and then we then had our local collaborators work on some of the fin clips, and then we saw an opportunity to actually then harvest one fish. This fish was sacrificed, and we now have a reference genome that's publicly available to do more molecular ecology on Golden Dorado. And so this was a sort of a benefit of, I guess, COVID. But it actually also increased the depth of analysis that we could do when we were looking at connectivity. I'm not going to get into too much of the details. This is Nadia Fernandez. She was a PhD student on the project. And so what really started to emerge is I am not a molecular ecologist, but this is a PCA based on the analyses. And you can start to see separation in terms of the populations of Golden Dorado. This is the population. Is there a pointer on this thing? Wait. No? Anyway, up in the upper left-hand corner, this is Bolivia, the samples from Bolivia, and how they separated out from the Rio de la Plata Basin, which is this area there. And so, but then you can start to see structure within the Rio de la Plata Basin. This is the area, this is the area above the Itapu Dam, so an effective dam up into Brazil. This is the Rio Dulce, which is a really small isolated watershed, but occasionally also spills over, depending on flooding, with the Rio Salado. So we're starting to see some population structure that's happening based on the results of the genomic study. And then there's also, we're digging deeper into this, that there's also some substructure, finer scale structure within the Rio de la Plata Basin that is emerging and helping us guide additional questions. And so what that study has done is continued to build capacity in terms of the molecular results to helping define the management units. Sorry, the jumping kind of wore me out. And then a couple days ago, I shared the results of the angler survey. That was highlighting knowledge of specific threats. So we're actually using that as a stepping stone to more communication and working with stakeholders. We've got new questions, new collaborations that have evolved based on the community-centered approach. And we're bringing in more scientists to get involved in the next steps. With that, a next step is In some of the areas where we're starting to see some smaller, finer scale structure, we are starting to use some radio telemetry with collaboration with Natalia Silva from the University in the Northeast in Corrientes. We actually have awesome support from the province of Corrientes. And what was really neat, so this is ongoing, a stepping stone based on the community-based approach. And we were then really overwhelmed by the fact that we were giving supposed to be a small presentation to the government of Corrientes with 30 people in the room. And all of a sudden, we had to close the door. There were over 100 people, government officials. This is the Minister of Tourism. We have senators from the federal government, and they were all really focused in on understanding how Golden Dorado, the science can inform conservation and management. Good, I'm almost there. And so as a stepping stone, that one community-based approach and using the science to start to inform conservation and management also basically instigated a massive grassroots effort. And so because of that, the Golden Dorado Conservation Coalition has been formed, sort of really building conservation capacity for science and education and outreach and advocacy, to sort of rally the community together in that community-centered approach. And not only did the province of Corrientes sign on, but province of Santa Fe, Entre Rios, a lot of a massive nonprofit that does a whole bunch of rewilding in South America, some US-based nonprofits that you've heard about, but also a lot of local and regional tackle companies, and then some international fishing companies have all jumped on board to really start to support the community-based approach for the conservation of Golden Dorado. And so with that, I just want to acknowledge IGFA, and also that basically funded the Molecular Ecology, Yellow Dog Community and Conservation Foundation has now came in to support some of the radio telemetry, and most recently the Chris Rockwell Foundation is continuing to support some of the radio telemetry and hopefully more into the future. So with that, I'll happy to take some questions. Thank you.
One question.
Yeah.
Tell me, a fish that size, one of those Golden Dorados, with a 10-weight fly rod, how long will it take him?
Oh, with a 10 weight? Actually, we fish them on 8 weights.
8 weights?
Yeah. And we can bring them in probably about 8 minutes. 7, 8 minutes. If you know how to find them and you find them hard. Yeah. They're amazing. They do this. They want to attack you. They want to bite. I have teeth marks on my pliers, not from putting it in the mouth, but getting it close to the mouth, and the Golden Dorado goes, bites onto it, and they're like pit bulls. They don't want to let go, and you don't want to get your hand anywhere near them. Yeah, it's an amazing species. Other questions? Thoughts? Hi.
Do you want to come to PNG and do some work on black bass and Dane honey with me?
Yes, please. What was really neat for that Golden Dorado Conservation Coalition, it was the groundswell of all the other the guides and the tackle companies, and we created that groundswell first, and then we presented it to the provinces, and the provinces are like, well, we better get on board. Yeah. Right. And so it was that pressure. It was that grassroots pressure that all of a sudden now we're working with the government officials, and we've got a couple other provinces that are going to get on board, and then there are sentiments where at some point too we're going to be having access to some funding from the government to actually do some of the science, which is pretty cool.